Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're doing a head-to-head between these two lights. It's the brand new Thrunite TT20 and we're putting it up against the Olight M2T. Now the M2R is a similar light to the M2T. They're both in the Warrior family, I guess I would say. The M2R is the one that has the rechargeable basically magnetic base, but it doesn't have this rubberized pressure switch. And so there's some differences between these two as far as, you know, how they're built, type of battery and stuff. But I thought the similarities would be good because if you like the M2T, this one will give you some similar features, and it has, you know, the side selector switch, the end pressure switch. It doesn't have the magnetic base for charging. It's got a similar pocket clip, and then there are some differences as well. So I had this light already. Thrunite sent me this to review, but they wanted to do a head-to-head, so I said okay. Having looked at them a bit already, I can tell you that there are some overlap, there's some differences like I just shared, and there's also some difference in kind of what the experience is to use it as a light. For me, the M2R and this TT20 are about the size I go maximum size when it comes to carrying an everyday carry light. That's a bit larger. You know, I don't mind carrying a larger everyday carry light, but this one kind of, both of those are like, okay, that's the top of the size for me for an everyday carry light. So let me talk through some of the details on the two lights, and then we'll take them out to the night and use them. So first off, the main difference, I think, is that you got some difference in size. The TT20 is a little bit bigger. And then the main difference, I think, is going to be your outputs connected to how the light is built and the battery it's using. So this is going to run an 18650 or two CR123s. And the TT20 comes with a 21700 battery. So it looks very similar to an 18650, but it is bigger, just chunkier, and is going to give you more overall power for your light. So what I'll do here is I'll roll in on the bottom the different output levels. You've got an extremely low level to up to over 2000 lumens with the TT20. So functionally, the main thing I like about the TT20 is that it has the end pressure switch, the rubberized end pressure switch. I don't mind the magnetic one like that some of the Olights come with, but I do prefer a rubberized pressure switch. The other thing is that it has the infinity cycle, so it doesn't just give you 4 or 5 different outputs. It's everything from the lowest output at 31 lumens. So there's just a huge variety of output, and that gives you the option to say, you know, no, I don't want 31 lumens, but I want maybe like, you know, 50 lumens. Okay, no, I want 150 lumens, and you can cycle up to whatever you see as far as the light coming out and saying, yeah, I'll stop there because that's the right amount of output. So I think that's cool. I like that feature. I do think the overall build is very similar. I would like to see a little bit more aggressive texture on the side of this one and on the M2R as well, or the M2T as well. So I realize that, you know, people are going to put this in their pocket, so they don't want to get their pocket beat up too much, but I would like to see something a little bit more aggressive, just slightly. The other thing is that I like the end pressure switch because I find these side switches are just, they're really small. I do like that Olight has theirs rubberized as opposed to just this, you know, it's a different, slightly different, it's raised slightly from the side of the flashlight, but it's pretty much the same texture. So I'd like to see that rubberized in the future. I just think it gives you better grip, and when you're trying to feel in the dark to touch the selector switch or for the infinity loop, it's easier to find with that. So pretty standard for most Thrunite flashlights. You're going to get the light. It's going to come with a battery. You do get the little sheath here. Then you do get a USB recharging cord, and then they give you this little bag of goodies, which is like a lanyard. It's an extra cover for the micro USB. It's an extra end pressure switch, a couple O-rings. So some pretty basic things for your average Thrunite flashlight. Here's what it looks like in the actual sheath. So there's no hook and loop, so you got to run that through a belt or attach it to some piece of gear. There is a D-ring here, and you got your Velcro there. And most of the Thrunite sheaths work just fine. There's nothing special about them, but they're definitely functional. All right, here's the M2T from Olight. Again, I'll run in the outputs down on the bottom of the screen here so you can see what that looks like. The clip on both of these lights, you can run that onto the brim of a hat. They definitely are heavy, both the lights, to have on the brim of a hat, but you can definitely do that. Again, you have your rubberized end pressure switch, and then you've got your selector switch up here. This one is not USB rechargeable in that it doesn't have the micro USB input, whereas the TT20, I've got so many names of different flashlights these days. TT20, is that right? Yeah, TT20. This does have your port there to plug it in and charge it. So for this one, I actually took the battery out, swapped it into I think my TC15 charged the battery up and then swapped it out into this. So that's definitely a downside, I would say, to the light. You can buy some 18650 batteries that have a little charging port in them, which I would recommend if you got this light. Just makes the charging process easier as opposed to having to put it into a charger or put it into another light, obviously, to charge it. So here they are, basically lined up end to end, and you can see it's about probably an extra 1/3 of an inch for the TT20, and then as far as across the bezel, a little bit wider across the bezel there as well for the TT20. This one does have a more orange peel reflector, and then this one definitely has more of a smooth reflector. A little bit more texturing on the bezel there. This one definitely has, it's aggressive, but it's not as aggressive as this one. But again, neither one of those would I want to get tapped with, you know, in the face or the chest or something like that. If someone was using this against me, that wouldn't be comfortable in either case. All right, so what I want to do now is take these out into the night and use them, and then I'll talk about my experience carrying them and just the overall functionality and what I think about them. All right, let's start off by looking at the TT20, and what we're doing is we're looking at my car, which is about probably 20 feet away. So we'll just give you a sense of the outputs for this light. Okay, so we'll show you first the Firefly, which is 0.54 lumens. When I turn that on and shine it at the car, can't really see a whole lot, but you can see my hand here on camera. So that's 0.54 lumens. Okay, next up is the lowest output setting on the infinity loop. This is 31 lumens shining at my car. Okay, now we're going to go up to the infinity high, which is 1468. So just keep watching the light here as it slowly goes up in the amount of lumen output. So there's your 1468 right there. And then we'll double click and go to turbo here. And the turbo is 2526, so 2526 lumens. Here we go. There's your turbo. I'll show you a strobe here. And then we'll scroll up and then back down all the way to 31. And then it's going to go back up to around 1400 here for the high. And then we'll show you the turbo there, about 2500 lumens, and off. Okay, now with the M2T from Olight, we'll start off at the moonlight setting, which is 1 lumen. Here's what that looks like on my hand. That's going to go to ultra low, which is 15. Okay, so this is 15 lumens here. You can see a little reflection on the car. With the human eye, I can see actually decently from about 20 feet away. I can see the car just fine. Now we're going to do 60, 250, and 600. 60, 250, 600, and then we'll go up to the 1200. So now 1200, which is the turbo. So that's what that looks like, and we'll give you the strobe here. So strobe warning. So there's your turbo, and again we'll cycle through the different settings from the ultra low is that, or that moonlight, which is very, very low, 1 lumen. So we'll go to the ultra low first. So there's your ultra low, low, medium, high. So that's high, and here's turbo and strobe. So strobe warning again. Okay, what we're going to do now is show you the Thrunite on the right and the Olight on the left, and we'll just go through the different settings. Because of the infinity loop with the Thrunite, you know, you can't match it up perfectly lumen for lumen to the Olight, but I'll give you a sense of the low end and the high end, and again the Thrunite on the right, the Olight on the left. So with the Thrunite, just because it's got a wider bezel there at the front, when you shine it at the gate, you can definitely see more area. I mean, you can see both. With the turbo for both, you can see this entire side yard quite well, but you can see further off into the backyard and the top of my kids' play fort with the Thrunite definitely more easily than when you have the OLED on turbo, just because that amount of lumen output and then also the size of the bezel. Okay, so I've run the Thrunite for about 2 minutes now, maybe 3 minutes, and I'll compare it to the Olight, and you're definitely going to see a difference as far as the Olight at 1200 and the Thrunite looks like it has slowly dropped down to about 650, give or take here. All right, let's compare the Olight that's been running for about probably 2 minutes now to the Thrunite at the highest of the infinity loops. So the Thrunite should be brighter than the Olight here. So I've given you the rundown about the basics on the light, and then also you've seen them in use at night. Let me talk through my experience with them. Carrying them, very similar as far as how they feel in the pocket. You can see that the TT20 is going to ride up a little bit higher. There's your clip, so you got about almost an inch out from the pocket, whereas this one rides down a little bit deeper. So if you want one that's really, you know, around this size but easier to conceal, then the M2T Warrior is going to be the one for you. As far as output, I mean, obviously the TT20 has more output, but you can probably see why I compared the two, because they are very similar in size. Even though the bezel is slightly bigger on the TT20, it's not like it's massive and this one's tiny. So if you're like, hey, I like, you know, over 1,000, but I want over 2,000 lumens of output, then the TT20 is going to be the one that you're probably going to want to lean toward. I do think that the orange peel versus the smooth reflector, I didn't see a huge difference. I do think this one throws more, but because it's got more output, it's gonna throw, just got more lumens coming out. I didn't see a huge difference between the functionality of the orange peel reflector versus the smooth reflector. That was my observation. If you want anything that's got a little bit of color, obviously the Olight's got that blue around the aggressive bezel there. This is completely black other than the silver there. Like I said, you can put these on your hat. Let me just show you real quick. Here's the TT20, like that. Now, because it is heavy, you want to make sure that it's firmly attached before you use it, because if you really like shake your head, this thing can slip off. A little bit easier with the Olight here. Let me slide this on so you can see this one. But this one is also, I think, because of the way the clip is built and the average brim thickness, this one's going to stick out a little bit more. So this one actually feels a little bit more front heavy, even though it's overall a lighter flashlight. So I do think probably the main thing that's going to jump out to people is the size of the battery, a little bit more weight, more output, but that micro USB included there for charging versus no way to charge this other than taking the light out or taking the battery out and putting in a charger, or like I did, put it in another 18650 light, charge the battery within that light, take it out, and then put it back in this. That's just not super functional. I do think that if you're somebody who says, hey, I want different options as far as the batteries I use, the fact that you can use two CR123s in this quite easily, I think might be, you know, a win for some people. The thing for me with CR123s is that it's not the type of battery that's easily accessible. Like, it's not like a lot of people have CR123s kicking around unless they're a flashlight person. If you had a light that you could swap out CR123s to a AA or AAA, I think I tested out a NextTorch a while ago, a NextTorch flashlight that did that. I think that's a win, because more people have AA's and AAA's easily accessible as opposed to extra CR123s. Obviously, the micro USB and recharging via the micro USB is a huge win, but you know, for some reason that 21700 battery just dies on you. you got to go get a new 21700 battery. Those aren't super common. You can certainly buy them online, but you're not going to bump into somebody's like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of those sitting around the house. So I think there's some give and take there overall. One of the things I've noticed, once you get up to a certain lumen output, I remember when I tested the Olight, I think it's the M9R Marauder, is that what it is? They're massive light, whatever their 25,000 light lumen light is. With that one, you know, when you went from 6,000 to 12,000, you're like, okay, I can definitely see a jump there. When you go from 1,200 to 2,500, there's a difference, absolutely, but it's not a monumental difference, and so you have to think through, does the extra amount of lumens and the size, weight of the light, etc., is the value of the extra lumen output what I want? I wanted to jump back in here real quick to talk about price point. So you're looking at about 70 to 80 bucks, depending on where you pick up these lights. I think, again, like my vote is going for the Thrunite, and then when you consider the price, you're getting, you know, more output, more power, just a wide variety of options. The overall functionality I like, and the rechargeability, and your price point is very close. If there was a $50 difference, then maybe I'd go for the Olight in this comparison, but since the price point is so similar and overall functionality is Thrunite's winning, I'm going with the Thrunite. So around 70 bucks up to 80 bucks, depending on where you pick it up. These lights are pretty similar in cost. Because of your price point, I do think that, you know, you're getting a good deal on either one of these lights. But for me, the micro USB is the deal breaker. This is an EDC light for me. I like this light a lot, the M2T Warrior. I've got probably 5 or 6 lights that I've been rotating through on a regular basis. So the other day I took this light out and I just hit the side selector switch, which you could also use to turn the light on, and it gave me the red flashing warning, which basically said, hey, your battery's low. And I thought, oh, I'll just charge it. And then I was like, wait, I can't just plug this thing in. So that micro USB, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't build that into this. So I'm sure there's reasons for it, but that micro USB is the deal breaker for me. So overall, very similar in size, functionality, higher lumen output with a micro USB. This one's going to go into the rotation. You're probably going to see less of this one in, you know, Instagram posts and things like that because of that micro USB. So I'll be interested. I like Olight flashlights a lot. I'm not telling you anything you don't know if you follow my channel, but I'm going to ask them why they didn't put a micro USB on that. I know with the M2R, with that magnetic base, that, you know, kind of compensates for it, but I just don't like the magnetic base enough. So I think probably a lot of people don't have the same preference I have for that end rubberized pressure switch as opposed to like the metal one. Most people don't care that much, but I definitely care. So another little thing just to mention here is that with this one on the end, you can't stand it on the end pressure. I mean, you can balance it probably, but it's pretty dicey. Whereas this one does have those 2 flattened wings there, so you can actually tail stand this if you want to put light into a room. I think overall the win for like aesthetics goes to Olight. I think they're doing a good job in their marketing and what the lights look like and offering more colors. And I think Thrunite is trying to move in that direction. They are moving in that direction. But I think Olight's winning when it comes to, you know, the aesthetics. But I do think functionally, this one just does a great job and it's got those advantages. So between these two, while I do like this one, I would still pick the Thrunite. And if you've seen other reviews of mine that I've done, I'm trying to remember what I reviewed. It wasn't an Olight. I think maybe it was a Phoenix versus a Thrunite, and I picked the Phoenix over it. So these guys are similar, but I think there's a slight advantage for this guy. And again, because of that micro USB, that kind of wins the day for me. So yeah, let's hear your thoughts on these 2 lights. When you look at the 2 of these, tell me, you know, okay, if you like the Olight more, what are those couple features that stand out from this versus the Thrunite, and vice versa? If you like the Thrunite more, tell me what about the Thrunite stands out versus what the Olight has to offer. So let's hear your thoughts and your feedback in the comment section down below. All right, thanks as always for checking out the video, everybody. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.